What Canon lens can I buy for under 200? Today I'm going to show you some great examples. So hello and welcome. Today I'm looking at lenses. You may have come from my previous video where I gave you lens options for 100. But today we're looking at 200. And this one is going to be a bit more interesting because 200 is enough to dabble your feet in. So what you will find is if you're looking at different types of lenses, you've got a camera. Most likely you're going to have a Canon because I'm doing this series for Canon. I will be looking at Nikon and Sony later on. I did a full series about camera bodies. You can get a camera body from as little as 100 currency, whatever currency you want to insert. I'll link you to that, so check that out. You might find that interesting. But today the main one we're looking at is the lenses. So this is going to be eBay because it's still a lower budget. The main bit where it gets interesting is at 600, 500 to 600. So that is like a good amount to get a really good lens that you'll have for ages. But today, because we're concentrating on a lower amount, we're going to be looking at second-hand options. However, there's nothing wrong with having second-hand options. So 200 is our challenge, I'll call it. What do you think, guys? 200. Okay, so Canon 17 to 85 millimeter EF-S USM lens, nearly new. So that is a good option because you'll notice it's a 17 millimeter. So what can be tricky is getting a really wide lens on a crop sensor body, which is an EF-S. Because it's an EF-S, it'll only work in crop sensors. What I mean by crop sensor is going to be things like your Canon 1000 series cameras, so like your 1000D, your 1200D, 1300D, the Canon series like the 550, 600, 700, 800D, T2i, T3i, T4i, those kind of cameras, and not the full frame bodies. So these will give you options. So let's have a look at that first one. And I know on our podcast we've had some nice activity. People are really interested in these budget videos and getting you gear for a certain amount. So what I'm doing for you guys is benefit is I'm taking down the names of the lenses. I'm going to put it in the description so you can easily find it, because I know when it's an audio podcast you kind of don't get all the benefit of me talking about stuff and showing you examples. But I'd urge you to come over to my YouTube channel and check out some of the videos, because you'll see live examples where I'm bringing up the eBay listing and showing you what the cameras are like. Anyway, back to the show. So this one is a very good option. It's only $199.99, which is bang in our budget. It's got a manual with it. It looks in good condition. And you'll see at this price range, the mounts on the cameras are starting to become metal, the lens even. So the lens itself will have a good option for mounting, which is great. And let's have a look. So that's option number one. I would buy that. And okay, the main thing to worry about is right now we have an item here on a listed seller at 93.5% positive feedback. So make sure when you're buying on eBay to keep an eye on what exactly that is. So we can see he's been selling for 12 months and most of the negatives were a while ago. Let's see what the negatives were. Cancelled my order because Princess didn't get the price you wanted. Okay, so that's fine. Do not buy from the seller. But then we have 33 items of positive feedback. So okay, yeah, interesting. It seems like there's been some issues about prices and stuff, but if you're buying at the price that's listed, then you won't need to worry. But that looks like a good example of a lens, and I would buy that, especially at that budget. However, we have got some better options for you. So now when you go to Canon, you have L series of lenses. I think it stands for luxury. Luxury is like their best line. So I've got a few of those which I've got over the years. I've built up to those. So I have a 24 to 70, which is a L lens, 50 millimeter, and 70 to 200. And those are designed for professional use. They're meant to give you really good quality. They do. Okay, so the one I'm showing you right now is a 70 to 200 f4. F4 refers to the exposure, well, not exposure, but you can aperture. So I like to explain it in different ways because I know people like to understand it in a way which is not too jargony. So if you're looking at taking photographs, how important is it to have the background of your photograph blurry? In an example of 2.8, your background can be blurred where the things behind you are not as visible. If you're using something more like a f6, your background blur will not be as apparent. So the items in the background will be able to be readed, is that even a word? Read more clearly, so you can see that is nice and clear if you're looking at the video and how that blur affects that. So that is that. Okay, this lens is at 200. It's a f4 and non-IS, so it's not image stabilized, which means if you're doing video, you can't hold it handheld, and it doesn't give you additional shake proof basically if you're taking low exposure photos. Manual focus only, so that also means that the autofocus is not working, or it may just be the first one in this model. Let me check. Manual focus only. Okay, so with this, that means is it's a great lens, but what are you taking photographs of? And if it's something slow, you probably will be okay with manual focus, but autofocus is when you click and it recognizes where to focus. When you've got a small LCD, you want to autofocus because it will automatically focus it, and sometimes you might think it's in focus but it's not, and you can't tell on the small screen. So I think focus is important, so I'm not going to carry on with that one. I don't think that's a good buy. Let's have a look down and see what else is available at 20. Oh, okay, what's this one? EF-S 60mm 2.8 EF-S. That looks like a prime lens. It is the prime lens, yes. Yeah, the macro one, that's why. Okay, so this is the 60mm macro, and this is a good option for if you're doing portraits or even product photography. This would be a great option for you. If you're selling stuff online, I would suggest this is a good option to look at. For 200, that's a very good price. Let me copy that name so I can add it in for the guys listening on the podcast, because you will enjoy that. Okay, let me see. Have a look at some of the information. The lens comes with the original front and rear caps and the original box. The only reason for selling is due to the fact that I've upgraded to a full framed camera. So you'll see there I noted EF-S lenses, which are designed for crop sensor bodies, will not work on the full frame body. So that's what he's done. He's selling it and he's getting another one. If you had brought an EF lens to start off with, that would have worked on any camera body. So think about sometimes spending a bit of money if you're serious about your hobby and buying good lens, and then just changing the body. That way you won't have to buy lenses again. Okay, so that is a good option. I would recommend that. That's a nice one. Depending on what you're looking to photograph, I would get that. If you had a bit more money, if you were even at the 500 range, you could actually buy two lenses, like cheaper ones, and you'll get a wider spectrum of photos. So that is another option for you. Let's have a look at what else we have here. Tamron. Okay, now that's okay. I've had a Sigma in the past, so nothing against non-Canon branded lenses. EF-S 17 to 85, EF-S ISM USM. That's a good option as well. Okay, I'll give you both of those options. Okay, Tamron SPAF. So in their line of, they give them different names, but that is going to be an EF-S mount again, so it'll fit on a crop sensor camera. That looks like a nice option actually. Is a DI to VC, and it's a 2.8 as well, constant. That is a good buy. Very good. The reason for that is because if you have 2.8, it's always going to be 2.8 whether you're at 17mm or 50mm. So if you're doing manual settings, you can zoom in and out and you won't need to change the aperture, because it'll always be 2.8. Very good option. Salah, 100% feedback. Good option. You can even make an offer. It's free postage. You'll probably get 10-20 quid off that. Okay, and let's have a look. Okay, Tamron 17 to 50, 2.8 DIVC, and it's a yes, so it's a Canon EF-S. It will not work on a Nikon, so just making that clear. And the lens is used from our collection. The lens is sold as used from own collection, but is good working order condition well looked after with no dents. Focus and zoom rings are working smoothly. Okay, that's a nice option. You can check online for reviews of these lenses, because I know a lot of people have got some great reviews of these. But let me copy that description down, because I think that is another good option. You could probably search for these, because you might be watching this video like 1 year down the line, but these lenses will still probably get cheaper or hold their value. So that's an option to look at. Alongside that, I also looked at the Canon version, which is a 17 to 85. However, it's a 4 to f5.6. It has got image stabilization, so that's good. If you're doing a bit of video work, you can do slight video handheld and it won't look totally terrible. 199 again, just under the 200 mark. Let's have a look at that. Image stabilized USM, which is the ultrasonic motor, so it focuses a bit quicker and it sounds lower. Yeah, okay, that is another good option for you. So I think this was a good look at 200 for a Canon lens. So if you found this useful, I'm hoping you did. Make sure to check out the next video in this series where we're going to look at what you can get for 300. Check it out. Only a bit more. If you can save up a bit more money, you'll be surprised what you can pick up. Check this one out.